Deep in the woods, hidden by twisting branches and whispering leaves, stood Blackwood House. It was a place shrouded in mystery and fear, a place where the sunlight barely penetrated the thick canopy of trees. The air was always thick with an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves or the distant call of an owl. The forest seemed to guard the house, keeping it hidden from the world, as if it were a secret too terrible to be revealed. The house itself was a relic of a bygone era, with paint peeling like scabs and windows like empty eyes. Its once grand facade had long since crumbled, leaving behind a shell of its former glory. The roof sagged under the weight of years of neglect, and the front porch, once a place of welcome, now seemed to groan under the burden of its dark history. The wind would often whistle through the broken windows, creating an eerie symphony that seemed to echo the house's tragic past. Locals told a chilling tale. A family once lived there, happy and full of life. They were the picture of bliss, captured in old photographs that now lay forgotten in dusty attics. The father a stern but loving man, the mother gentle and kind, and their two children, always seen with bright smiles and laughter in their eyes. They were the heart of the community, hosting gatherings and celebrations that brought joy to all who attended. Then one night, everything changed. Screams echoed through the trees, piercing the stillness of the night. The once lively house was now a scene of unimaginable horror. Neighbors awoke to the sounds of terror, but by the time they arrived, it was too late. The house stood silent, its windows dark and foreboding. The family was never seen again, leaving behind only questions and a sense of dread that lingered in the air. Silence followed. No one saw the family again. The house became a place of fear, avoided by all who knew its story. The once vibrant home was now a tomb, its halls echoing with the ghosts of the past. The forest around it seemed to grow darker, as if mourning the loss of the family that had once brought it to life. The air grew colder, and the sense of foreboding grew stronger with each passing year. Some said the house swallowed them whole. Others whispered of a curse, a darkness that claimed anyone foolish enough to enter. The stories varied, but all shared a common theme. The house was evil, a place where no light could penetrate. Those who dared to venture inside often spoke of strange occurrences, of shadows that moved on their own and whispers that seemed to come from the walls themselves. Many believed that the house was alive, feeding off the fear and despair of those who entered. The story was just an urban legend, a campfire tale to scare children, or was it? As the years passed, the legend of Blackwood House grew, becoming a part of the local folklore. Children would dare each other to approach the house, their hearts pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. Around campfires, the story would be told and retold, each time growing more elaborate and terrifying. But for those who knew the truth, the house was more than just a story. It was a reminder of the darkness that lurked just beyond the edge of the forest, waiting to claim its next victim. Sophie, a thrill-seeker, loved a good scare. Her best friend Peter, not so much. But he'd do anything for Sophie, even if it meant facing his fears. Els, the skeptic, scoffed at the legend. She needed proof, evidence, not silly stories. Thomas, the quiet one, just wanted to be part of the group. Halloween night. The four friends had a plan: spend the night at Blackwood House to prove the legend wrong. All right, Blackwood House was infamous in their small town. Stories of ghostly apparitions and eerie sounds had been passed down for generations. Some said it was haunted by the spirit of a woman who had disappeared mysteriously. Others claimed to have seen shadowy figures moving through the windows at night. Despite the warnings, the daring four were determined to uncover the truth. They gathered their supplies, flashlights, snacks, and a camera to document their adventure. As they approached the house, the air grew colder, and an unsettling silence enveloped them. Sophie led the way, her heart pounding with excitement. Peter followed closely, trying to mask his fear with a brave face. Els rolled her eyes but couldn't hide her curiosity. Thomas, bringing up the rear, felt a mix of anticipation and dread. They pushed open the creaky door and stepped inside, the floorboards groaning under their weight. The interior of Blackwood House was just as they had imagined, dark, dusty and filled with an eerie atmosphere. They split up to explore different parts of the house, each armed with a flashlight. Sophie and Peter headed to the basement, where the most chilling stories originated. Els and Thomas took the upper floors, searching for any signs of the supernatural. Hours passed and the tension grew. Every creak and whisper seemed amplified in the stillness. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the house, sending shivers down their spines. They regrouped in the main hall, their faces pale with fear. "Did you see anything?" Sophie asked, her voice trembling. Peter shook his head, while Els and Thomas exchanged uneasy glances. Just as they were about to give up, a faint, ghostly figure appeared at the top of the staircase. The daring four froze, their eyes wide with terror. The legend of Blackwood House was real, and they were living it. The woods were alive with the sounds of the night. Crickets chirped, owls hooted, branches snapped under their feet. The air grew colder as they neared the house. Fog curled around their ankles like ghostly fingers reaching for them.
"Do you ever feel like we're being watched?"
whispered Peter, his voice trembling. Sophie laughed, but her laughter sounded strained, even to her own ears. Blackwood House loomed before them, more menacing in the dark. The front door creaked open as if inviting them in. The smell hit them first, musty like something old and decaying. Cobwebs draped everything like macabre decorations. Dust lay thick on the floor, undisturbed for years.
Just the wind?
But as they ventured deeper, the hairs on their necks stood on end. Something wasn't right. They could feel it. The basement door groaned in protest as Thomas pulled it open. The air immediately felt heavy, thick with an unseen presence. A single bare bulb cast long dancing shadows.
"This is creepy, even for me,"
Sophie whispered, shining her flashlight across the room. In the corner, something glinted. It was a locket, covered in dust. Peter picked it up. Inside, a faded picture of a smiling family. The family from the legend. Back upstairs, the silence was broken by a soft whisper. The friends froze, listening intently. There it was again, a faint murmuring, coming from the hallway. They exchanged nervous glances.
"Hello, is anyone there?"
Sophie called out, her voice trembling slightly. Only silence answered her. But the whispering continued, seeming to come from the walls themselves, surrounding them, chilling them to the bone. Panic began to set in.
"We should stick together,"
Thomas said, his voice tight with fear. But it was too late. A sudden crash from upstairs split them apart. Sophie and Peter ran towards the sound, while Els and Thomas headed for the source of the whispering. They were now divided, alone in the dark, each facing their own unseen terror. The house was playing with them, toying with their fears. Morning came, painting the sky with hues of hope. The first rays of sunlight filtered through the dense canopy, casting long shadows on the forest floor. But in Blackwood House, there was only silence. An eerie, unsettling silence that seemed to echo through the empty halls. No sign of the four friends who had come for a weekend getaway. No laughter that had filled the house just the night before. No screams that might have hinted at a struggle. Their car sat empty at the edge of the woods, a lonely sentinel in the morning mist, its windows fogged with dew. Search parties were quickly organized, combing through the house and the surrounding woods with a fine-toothed comb. They found nothing, no clues, no signs of struggle. It was as if the four friends had simply vanished into thin air. The house, with its creaking floors and whispering walls, seemed to hold its breath, guarding its secrets. It was as if the house itself had swallowed them whole, just like the family from the legend that had haunted the town for generations. The legend spoke of a family who had lived in Blackwood House many years ago. One night, they too had vanished without a trace, leaving behind a house full of unanswered questions and a town full of whispers. Some said the house was cursed, that it had a life of its own. Others believed it was the work of something far more sinister, but no one knew for sure. And now, with the disappearance of the four friends, the legend had come to life once more, casting a dark shadow over the town of Blackwood. The search continued, but hope was fading. The forest, with its ancient trees and hidden paths, seemed to swallow the searchers' calls, just as it had swallowed the friends. Blackwood House still stands, a testament to the darkness that lurks within. The legend continues, whispered in hushed tones, a warning, a reminder. Some places hold secrets best left undisturbed. The house in the woods remains, a chilling reminder that some mysteries are never meant to be solved. And some stories, however terrifying, never truly end.